that are now virtual. So that started. Last thing I need to do is just read through our hearing script. This basically just will cover the procedure for the hearing. And then we'll jump right into it. So this is the June 15th, 2022 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220083. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If we did have anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. I'll give the zoning plans examiner, Wes Menzel, an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report if you would like. In the event any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant shall have an opportunity to rebut that testimony that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here today, I'll sort of let the Cincinnati Public Radio and NIR sort of orient this however they would like. I just want to hear about the projects and background, why you think the requested relief is necessary and why I should grant it. And again, one of you can speak, all of you can speak. It's really completely up to you, but I'll give all of you an opportunity to tell me about the project and why you think I should grant it. I will then give Wes Menzel, the zoning plans examiner, an opportunity to provide any testimony, and then go back to you guys, allow you to respond to anything he said, add any additional testimony that you would like, and make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, the last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing here today, then you need to be sworn in. So if that's you, if you could take yourself off mute, I need everyone to raise their right hand and I need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Who's going to be taking the lead here on the presentation from the applicant?
Yeah, that'll be me.
Okay, great. Mr. Rockwell, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to present this project. It's an exciting project that we're looking forward to starting with Cincinnati Public Radio. The site is part of the Keystone development that NIR did some time ago. It's a mixed-use PUD development, and this is one of the remaining parcels left of this development. And the intent was always to develop some sort of commercial office use, and it is zoned as such. We've had it for a while and kind of marketed it for quite some time, but we're real excited when CPR approached us and develop it on their behalf. So we would be selling the property to them and assisting them in the development of their new headquarters. As most people know, they're currently downtown off of Central Parkway in need of a new facility. And they've looked some other areas in town and they land on the site, and we're excited about this. It's a great opportunity, great site. You know, we're excited to be a part of keeping an important city institution in the city of Cincinnati and bringing in an exciting project to the community of Evanston. So it'll be a great opportunity to have some new jobs to the neighborhood. And yeah, we think it's a very attractive building and will be a great project. So I can highlight a little more. I know that it's about 30,000 square feet. It's a two-story structure. The plan is to have some outdoor space. CP, I can let Richard speak a little more to that about how they intend to use it in some of the programming. But one of the interesting aspects is that the outdoor space where they have events. So there's nice connectivity, both to the streetscape, both Dana Avenue and Realistic, but equally as important is the connectivity to the park that is adjacent to the west of the site. It's a relatively small site, so we are using a good share of that towards the building. So the on-site parking will be 11 spots with room for the dumpster and the, of course, the radio transmission dish which will be on that as well. So there'll 11 spots on site, and then we'll have access to 40 spots in the adjacent parking garage. That's part of Keystone Development.
Okay. So is the property directly south, is that still a baseball or softball field there?
There's a ball field, correct? Yeah, to the southwest.
And that's zone Parks and Recreation?
Correct.
Okay. Anything else right now you wanted to share?
I don't have anything at the time.
Okay. Jeff or Richard, anything more you'd like to share about the project?
Well, I can just build on what was said earlier, that one of the reasons we're looking for a new home for Cincinnati Public Radio is that we need to expand our outreach and involvement with the community. We're really excited about partnering with the Evanston area. We think it's a great neighborhood. It's got very substantial potential. And we have appeared a couple times before the community council and the community group, made our presentation, and the response has been 100% positive. One of the specific design elements of this building is that it's going to have a large interior public gathering space that will front and open onto the Evanston Park. And in cooperation with the Parks Commission, we anticipate that we will be able to partner and sponsor a variety of events throughout the year that involve music, public discussions, art displays, public community meetings. In terms of music, we have been in contact with a wide variety of genre groups throughout Greater Cincinnati. We anticipate sponsoring free concerts, classical, jazz, AAA, hip hop. We've been working with, of course, all the classical organizations in town, as well as all the jazz groups, and we have an excellent partnership with Elements. All of these groups, along with the Cincinnati Shakespeare Theater and Cincinnati Ballet and Cincinnati Opera and others, are looking forward to an opportunity to provide them with another community-based space for performance. We anticipate, in terms of these performances, we will be able to engage and involve professional, amateur, and student musicians of all stripes. And we think this will be a great boon for developing a dynamic anchor for this part of Evanston.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shamit, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just I'll quickly just add a couple things, and not to belabor the points, because we did try to put into our application a lot of the detail on what we're looking for and some of the background and history. But I've been involved with this Keystone development for a long time, and specifically as it relates to the three items and the three requests as it relates to the parking space item. Adam mentioned, we have parking right across the street at Keystone Park, and that was really always the intent of the Keystone Park development. It was built out in a number of different phases, and there's actually about 500 parking spaces here today in a variety of mostly garages, some surface parking. But we have an office building here. We have the Tri-Health Rehabilitation Hospital, and we have the Hilton Garden Inn Hotel, all of which share those parking spaces. And those are all, those uses are a good mix. And so they use the parking spaces at different times and so forth. And there's also a clear excess of parking. So there's plenty of parking here. So that was always kind of the intent of building out the development in that way, so that those parking spaces can be shared amongst a variety of uses. So those spaces will also be shared with the Cincinnati Public Radio, their staff and visitors. And when they have events, there's a significant number of parking spaces here for overflow parking and things like that. As it relates to the buffer yard requirement, we did include as an attachment an easement. So we actually, I think it was in 2007 or so, but we worked with the city. We purchased the parcels, which are now where the Cincinnati Public Radio is going to go, and we actually did a land swap with the city. So we donated some land to the park. So the city was able to expand the Evanston Park and put in that ball field at that time, and as well as a football field. And then as part of that, we negotiated this easement, which we included with the application, which the whole intent of that easement was to be able to, maximize the development of the site and provide, any buffer requirements really offsite, directly adjacent to the parcel. And then on the third item, I don't have anything to add there on the the radio broadcast antenna, but obviously that is an important component of the Cincinnati Public Radio to have a radio broadcast antenna. So happy to answer any questions as well.
Sure. Could you tell me a little bit more about the antenna size, components, anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know. So we did submit the actual spec sheet on that with the application. I don't know, Adam or Rich, do you know off the top of your head? I think it's roughly, is it 14 or 15 feet in diameter?
It's 12 feet in diameter.
Okay.
But it will be mounted on approximately 3-foot platform above that structure. So in effect, it'll be, well, with the tilt and the angle that it has to project, it'll be approximately 12 to 13 feet above that structure. But overall, it's 12 feet in diameter.
Gotcha. So 12 feet tall, essentially, and on top of a platform that is 35 feet tall. Is that right? Did you all hear that?
Yeah. I don't think it's 35. I think it's more.
David, if I can interject here,
Sure.
on page 9, there's a drawing that shows the side view of it. So it's maybe about 25 feet tall total on top of a 14-foot structure or something like that.
That's correct.
We're not talking about an upright antenna. We're talking about a satellite dish.
Got it. Okay. And that'll be directly adjacent to the ball field or along the southern property line. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then Jeff touched on this, but why here? Why do you believe that eliminating the buffer requirement is appropriate or won't detract from the park and recreation space there?
So I kind of touched on that was, well before we knew Cincinnati Public Radio would be in this location. We negotiated that easement, which is, it's a 30-foot easement for, I believe ingress, egress, and utilities, if I remember correctly. But then there's a specific 15-foot buffer yard easement, which is actually on park property. So it's directly adjacent to the property line for this parcel, and we did submit that document as well. So the intent of that was again to be able to maximize the developability of this site and allow the buffer yard to be basically off-site, directly adjacent. But specifically with what the Cincinnati Public Radio wants to accomplish, and really what Rich described earlier in terms of community engagement and events and so forth, is that and I believe a site plan and a rendering was submitted as well. So you might be able to tell, but really that western side of the site and the building in particular is where the event space is going to be. And the goal is to have, events and concerts, et cetera, which are both indoor and outdoor, and really to open up the project to the park, to bring the community in and connect the project with the adjacent park. So the goal is not to really buffer it and block it off from the park and the community. It's really, the goal is to engage it.
Got it. Okay.
The park land there's a sidewalk that runs along kind of that eastern edge of the park there that abuts the property. So, this buffer, there won't be much impact to the usable space of the park. It's going to be up to that sidewalk. So there will be currently there's a small grass strip between that sidewalk and the parking lot. So that's what we're talking about. It's not like any real usable space of the park will be impacted. and that sidewalk will remain as is.
Got it. Okay, I think I'll shift over and give Wes an opportunity to testify. Wes, is there anything you want to add?
Yes, just to clarify or kind of add a little bit more about the buffer yard question. So normally a buffer yard would have a fence as part of it. So in this case, the design of the site and the budding park is maybe more of a more seamless design, both visually and physically. So if the required buffer yard were in, they would have to have a fence. So that would kind of block the view and interrupt and conflict with the design as proposed. And so I think in this case, the proposal, you know, with the park and the land swap and all that and the easement kind of, you know, meets the intent of the buffer yard kind of in that respect. The other thing I wanted to comment on was the overall, you know, project is good as far as adverse impacts, minimal if there's appropriate screening. And then we did have a condition we wrote up about screening on the south side of the antenna. There's a 10-foot screen proposed on the north, east, and west side of the antenna, and but there's nothing proposed on the south. So we asked that be, you know, looked at more closely or required. The structure that the antenna is on is about 10 or 11 feet tall. And then there's a railing of 3 or 4 feet. So the effect, and then the antenna is on top of that. So the top of the antenna is roughly 24, 25 feet off the ground. But from the southern view, you see the entire antenna. And one idea would maybe to put a parapet wall of some sort. Maybe it's doesn't need to be necessarily as tall as the other sides, but because of the angle you're dealing with, you know, someone on the ground 300 feet away, when they look, you know, the maybe like a 7-foot parapet wall or something might block the view or most of the view of the antenna, as one idea to perhaps screen that south side. Because as far as impact, I mean, everyone in the park is going to see the antenna, and there's screening, you know, very effective screening proposed on 3 sides, but nothing proposed on the south. So that'd be something we'd ask be considered by you as part of your decision.
Thanks, Wes. Wes, I noticed that you've in your recommendation, you suggest, I think, several conditions to approval. So one of those is the screening on the south side. Another one is that there's signage indicating that additional public parking is available in the hotel garage.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that?
Sure. So there's only, I think it's 10 spaces on the site for on-site parking. They're required to have 36, and that's based on the zoning code allows for a 50% reduction in the overall parking if there's a publicly available parking location within 600 feet, which there is in the garage. Nyers provided an email that says that it's public. So based on that, we were allowed for only 36 required spaces, but then we figured there might need to be some sort of signage that indicates that there's parking nearby for not only the NPR users, but for anybody else who might, you know, need parking in that area. So that's how we added that clause in.
Gotcha. And then the last one is you're asking that there be confirmation that the applicant or from the applicant that the hotel garage is available to the public.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they
of-
provided an email to that effect. Actually, soon after I wrote this and uploaded it. So we got that from them.
Got it. Okay. All right. Anything else, Wes?
That's it.
Okay. I'll go back again to anyone on the applicant owner side here. Anything you want to respond to from Wes? Anything about the signage or the screening? Those are, of course, recommendations from Wes and the staff report. I can choose to adopt those or not adopt those. And so I'd like to hear any response you have to those recommendations from Wes.
From Cincinnati Public Radio standpoint, we'll need to examine the question of screening on the south side. The reason I say that is that it is critical because of the inclination of the satellite that we're aiming at. The satellite that we need to communicate with is in the southwest. And so the dish needs to have minimal impediment blocking line of sight between the dish and the satellite. I think that's the primary reason that there's no screening proposed on the south. Our engineering staff will have to re-examine that and see what latitude we have in terms of screening or not, or the height of any potential screening, and what steps we can take to ameliorate that issue.
Okay. So leaving the south screening off was intentional in order to try and maximize your ability to hit that satellite in the southwest.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Any response to his recommendation for signage about public parking?
I think, yeah, I would say I think we're open to that. I think that makes sense as well from our standpoint.
Okay. Anything else in closing or otherwise? Any response to any of anything in the staff report? Anything else that's been said here today before we adjourn? Okay, great. So I've had a chance to review the application materials, review the staff report. Based on those things and the testimony that I've heard here today, I'm going to approve the project, approve the requested relief, I should say. I need to formalize that decision in a written opinion. That typically takes a couple weeks. It shouldn't take 2 weeks, a full 2 weeks. I think I should have it out within the next week and a half. As soon as I finish that decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everyone who's in the hearing here today. So you all have it really just moments after it's complete. If you'd like, if you have any questions in the meantime or any questions now, please let me know. But or if you just like a status update on that decision, I'm happy to provide that to you if you just reach out to me directly. I'm gonna take. I mean, I think having line of sight to, to the southwest to me sounds like a pretty. I mean, that's the whole reason for having the antenna in the first place. So if there's the possibility of some obstruction there, I'm inclined not to impose that condition on the project. So I think it's unlikely that will be included. But Mr. Eisworth, if you find that there's a way to provide any additional screening there, I would encourage you to do that to improve the aesthetics of the park without obstructing your connections there.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. I think that's all that I have right now. Any questions about any of that at this time? Okay, great. So again, look out for that decision. As soon as you have that decision, then Wes can work on approving the permitting there, and hopefully you all can get started. Great. All right.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you all again for your time, your testimony. Good luck with the project.